The great hall of the feline palace was silent, except for the sound of claws tapping sharply on the golden floor. At the center, the Feline Queen sat on her towering throne, her eyes glowing like amber fire. Her voice suddenly rang out, loud and furious. "Is there no male capable of giving me grandchildren?" she demanded, her roar echoing through the chamber. All around her the courtiers trembled, their tails flicking nervously. The strongest warriors, the smartest scientists, even the bravest diplomats, none had satisfied her. Some whispered quietly, among themselves, "Perhaps this time it is hopeless," while others dared not breathe, fearing her sharp gaze. In the corner of the hall, hidden from immediate sight, stood Earth's prototype, a creation unlike any the Queen had seen before. It had been designed by humans, a mix of strength, intelligence, and curiosity, crafted to impress alien rulers. The prototype's eyes scanned the hall, its heart beating fast, unsure of what challenge awaited, though it looked calm. Inside it felt the weight of a galaxy's expectations resting on its shoulders. The Queen's tail lashed angrily as she rose from her throne, her voice now trembling with impatience. "Show me one who can carry my legacy, one who can give me heirs worthy of my name." Laughter bubbled from some courtiers, mocking the impossible task the Queen demanded. But the prototype did not move, standing straight and silent, knowing that one mistake could cost it everything. Suddenly, a senior advisor, a tall, thin feline, with silver fur, stepped forward cautiously. "Your Majesty." Perhaps the prototype from Earth might. The Queen cut him off with a sharp hiss. "I do not want maybes. I want certainty. I want a future worthy of me." She turned her glowing eyes directly on the prototype, and the room went still, every whisper fading into silence. The Queen's claws dug into the armrest of her throne, leaving shallow scratches in the polished metal. "You dared to look at me," she demanded, voice low and dangerous. The prototype bowed slightly, its human-like form tense but respectful. It knew that this was not a fight of strength alone, but a test of courage, intelligence, and heart. A murmur ran through the hall as courtiers debated quietly. Can a human creation truly succeed where others have failed? Some shook their heads, unable to believe that Earth's prototype could survive the Queen's wrath. Others secretly hoped it could, curious to see the reaction of the Queen if the impossible happened. The Queen circled the prototype, her movements fluid and predatory, each step echoing like a drumbeat. She paused suddenly and crouched slightly, her eyes narrowing. "If you fail, your world will know shame. If you succeed, perhaps, you may earn my notice," she said, almost to herself. The tension in the room was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Even the air seemed to hold its breath as the first trial of the prototype loomed ahead. At that moment, a small, delicate bell rang from the high balcony, signaling the start of the tests. The prototype straightened, ready to face the impossible. The Queen raised a paw, pointing to a distant chamber filled with unknown devices, traps, and challenges. "Go," she commanded, her voice echoing like thunder, "and show me if you are worthy of life under my reign." The prototype took its first step forward, each movement careful and measured. The courtiers watched in silence, curiosity and fear mixing in their expressions. The Queen's amber eyes followed every motion, her lips curled in a mixture of expectation and doubt. Somewhere deep inside, a question lingered in the air. Could Earth's prototype be the one to finally satisfy the Feline Queen? The hall remained tense, and as the prototype disappeared into the first chamber, the Queen's voice, soft but commanding, whispered, "Do not fail me." And with that, the trials of courage, intelligence, and heart began. The chamber was dark, filled with strange glowing panels and moving mechanisms that hummed like a living creature. The prototype stepped carefully, its senses alert to every sound, every shadow. It could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes upon its Feline Queen, and her court watching from above, waiting to see if it would fail. At the far end of the room, the first trial appeared, a bridge of lights stretching over a pit that seemed bottomless. One wrong step, and the prototype could fall into the darkness below, never to be seen again. It took a deep breath and stepped forward, testing each panel before trusting it with its full weight. The bridge wobbled slightly, and the prototype froze. Calculating its next move, the Queen's voice echoed in its mind, though she was far away. "Show me courage." Halfway across, a sudden surge of energy shot from the bridge, forcing the prototype to leap aside just in time. Gasps echoed from the balcony as courtiers whispered nervously, "It might actually make it." Others shook their heads, unable to believe a human creation could face such deadly trials. The prototype reached the other side, its legs shaking, but it kept moving. Determination burning in its eyes, the second trial awaited. A maze filled with shifting walls, bright lights, and confusing sounds. It was designed to confuse, frustrate, and trap anyone who entered. The prototype paused at the entrance, scanning patterns, memorizing details. With careful steps, it moved forward, adapting quickly as walls shifted around it. Several times, the path seemed blocked completely, but the prototype found hidden passages the designers had not expected. Above, the Queen's eyes narrowed, impressed despite herself. She had not believed that any creation could navigate the maze with such focus and intelligence. "Interesting," she whispered, almost smiling, though her pride would not allow it. The courtiers gasped at her rare display of attention. Some feared the prototype might actually succeed, while others secretly rooted for failure. The tension in the chamber grew heavier with every turn and step. The third trial was the most dangerous yet. A room filled with strange beasts, their claws sharp, eyes glowing, and movements unpredictable. They circled the prototype, growling and hissing, testing its courage. The prototype did not back down, holding a small device humans had created. For protection, it observed the creatures, learned their patterns, and used their movements against them, one by one. The beasts were neutralized or destructed, and the prototype reached the exit unscathed. By now, whispers had turned into loud discussions among the courtiers. Could it be the one? Some asked, fear and awe mixing in their voices. The Queen remained silent, her amber eyes fixed on the figure in the chamber. Even she could not hide the flicker of curiosity and surprise in her gaze. The final test of the part awaited, a holographic projection of the Feline Queen's ancestors, each judging the prototype with sharp eyes. It was a test of intelligence, memory, and respect. The prototype stepped forward confidently, answering questions, solving puzzles, and showing understanding of the Queen's lineage. Every correct response made the ancestors nod. Every hesitation tested its composure. At the end of the chamber, the prototype paused, breathing heavily, but still standing tall. It had passed the trials with courage, intelligence, and patience. The Queen's voice boomed from above, louder than before. "So far, you survive." A murmur ran through the hall as the audience waited for the next challenge. The prototype had proven itself worthy of notice, but the Queen's ultimate test was still ahead, and no one, not even the prototype, could guess what that would be. As it stepped back into the shadows, preparing for what was next, the question hung in the air: could Earth's prototype truly win the heart and approval of the Feline Queen? Only time, courage, and cunning would tell. The hall of the Feline Palace was silent again, the tension almost unbearable. The prototype had passed the first trials, but the Feline Queen's amber eyes showed no sign of satisfaction yet. She rose gracefully from her throne, her golden crown catching the light, and her voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "Enough of small tests. Now, show me a future worthy of my legacy." A hush fell over the court. This was the Queen's final challenge, the one that no male or creation had ever survived. The chamber ahead was enormous, filled with strange devices, glowing orbs, and moving platforms that seemed to defy gravity. It was designed to test not just strength or intelligence, but courage, strategy, and heart, all at once. The prototype stepped forward, careful but determined. He could feel the weight of the Queen's expectations pressing down, heavier than any gravity. The first obstacle was a field of shifting platforms floating over a pit of glowing liquid. One wrong step could mean falling into the unknown. Yet the prototype moved with caution and precision. Its mind calculated every movement, learning the patterns of the floating platforms. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the field, one of the Queen's elite guards, sent to test its reflexes. The prototype reacted instantly, dodging and leaping with agility, surprising even itself. The Queen's eyes narrowed, intrigued. "Clever," she whispered, almost smiling, though her pride would not allow it. The court gasped. Never before had any creation survived this far without hesitation. Next came a room of mirrors, twisting reality and reflection. designed to confuse and trap the mind. The prototype entered cautiously, studying the reflections, trying to find the real path. Every wrong turn triggered alarms, sending pulses of energy through the floor. The prototype focused, ignoring fear and distractions, trusting its instincts. Step by step, it navigated the labyrinth, its reflection finally merging with reality as it reached the exit. But the final part of the challenge was the most dangerous, the Hall of Shadows. Darkness covered everything, and shapes moved unpredictably, attacking without warning. The prototype could barely see. Relying on hearing, intuition, and memory of the chamber's layout, a shadow lunged from the left, another from the right, and yet another from above. It dodged, blocked, and countered, moving like a dancer, yet every movement carried the risk of failure. From above, the Feline Queen's gaze never wavered, her tail flicking with interest. "This is the first creation to face this challenge without faltering," she murmured to herself. The court watched in awe, many holding their breath. Some whispered, "It may succeed. It may actually succeed," while others could not bear to watch, fearing disaster. Finally, the prototype reached the center of the hall, where a glowing pedestal waited. It placed its hands upon it, activating a holographic display of the Feline Queen's court and her kingdom. The challenge was not just survival, but the vision of a future the prototype could imagine and protect. The Queen stepped down from her throne, her eyes wide with surprise. She had expected hesitation, failure, or fear, but the prototype stood strong, confident, and focused. The hall was silent for a long moment, every creature holding its breath. Then the Queen spoke, her voice soft, but commanding. "Interesting. You have passed the trials of courage and intellect, but the question remains, can you survive the trials of loyalty and heart?" The prototype looked up, unwavering, ready for whatever the Queen would demand next. And the court realized that the greatest test was not over. It was only beginning. The tension hung in the air, thick and unbroken, as everyone waited for the next move. And somewhere deep inside, a single thought echoed in the mind of the prototype. To earn the Queen's approval, it must do more than survive. It must prove it can protect, serve, and inspire. The Feline Queen's throne room buzzed with anticipation. All eyes followed the prototype as it stepped into the final chamber of the Queen's challenge. The air was thick with tension, and even the bravest courtiers whispered quietly, fearful of what might happen next. The chamber was unlike any other. It was a massive dome filled with holographic stars and planets. Strange devices floated in midair, pulsing with light. The Queen's voice echoed from above, commanding and sharp, "Show me a future worthy of my legacy." The prototype moved forward, cautious but determined. Suddenly, a hidden panel on the floor shifted, revealing a glowing map of Earth. The Queen's eyes narrowed. "What trick is this? Earth is insignificant," she hissed. But the prototype approached the map, studying it carefully. It understood the planets, the resources, and the hidden knowledge humans had collected over centuries. Then, something incredible happened. The prototype activated a device that revealed Earth's hidden power. A wave of energy surged through the chamber, illuminating the dome in dazzling colors. The Queen gasped, her tail flicking in surprise. The courtiers froze, staring at the display in awe and fear. The prototype had uncovered secrets no one had expected. Earth was not weak. It held knowledge and technology far beyond what the aliens had imagined. A rival courtier, a tall feline with silver fur, hissed angrily, "This human creation, it dares to show us the strength of its homeworld." Others murmured in shock, whispering about the possibilities and dangers. With the Queen's eyes, once filled with doubt, now glimmered with curiosity. This is unexpected," she admitted softly, almost to herself. The prototype stood tall, unafraid, its confidence growing with every second. But the twist was not over. A sudden alarm rang through the chamber, and shadows moved from the corners. An attack. The Queen's court had been infiltrated by unknown creatures, seeking to destroy the prototype. The prototype reacted immediately, dodging and countering. With the skills it had learned from previous trials, it moved like lightning, precise and calculated, protecting itself while keeping an eye on the Queen's reactions. From above, the Queen watched in amazement, unable to hide her astonishment. "No male or creation has ever faced such trials and survived them all," she murmured, her pride battling with newfound respect. The courtiers scrambled to react, some aiding the prototype, others frozen in fear. But the prototype remained calm, using both intelligence and courage to turn the tide of the attack. Finally, the intruders were neutralized, and silence returned to the chamber, broken only by the hum of the Earth's device. The Queen stepped down from her throne, her eyes locked on the prototype. "You have shown strength, intelligence, and courage," she said slowly, her voice carrying through the hall. "But now, you have revealed something more. You have shown me that even the smallest world can hold great power." The prototype bowed respectfully, sensing that it had passed another test, yet a question lingered in the air, heavy and unresolved. Would the Queen now accept it fully, or was there still a trial left that it could not yet see? The court remained silent, all eyes on the Queen, waiting for her final judgment. And somewhere deep inside, the prototype realized that the journey was far from over. It had proven its worth, but the ultimate test of loyalty, heart, and legacy lay ahead. The Queen's amber eyes glowed as she whispered, almost to herself, "Interesting, very interesting indeed." And with that, the next chapter of the prototype's trials was about to begin. A challenge that could change the fate of the Queen, her court, and even Earth itself. The throne room was silent. The tension was thicker than ever. All eyes were on the prototype, which had survived every trial, uncovered Earth's hidden power, and defended itself against the unexpected attack. The Feline Queen remained on her throne, her amber eyes glowing, watching carefully, as if weighing every action, every thought of the prototype. The Queen's voice finally broke the silence. "Low and commanding, you have shown strength, intelligence, and courage, but can you show loyalty and heart?" The prototype stepped forward, its stance steady, unwavering. It had learned that this trial was not about skill or power. It was about proving it could protect, serve, and inspire, even under impossible circumstances. Suddenly, the chamber doors slammed open, and a group of rebellious courtiers rushed in, hoping to challenge the prototype and claim favor with the Queen. The prototype didn't hesitate. It moved with speed and precision, disarming the courtiers without harm. Using clever strategies, it neutralized the threat while protecting innocent bystanders. Every movement showed discipline, courage, and respect, though qualities the Queen demanded. The Queen's eyes widened in surprise and admiration. She had never seen such calm, controlled loyalty from a creation. She rose from her throne, her tail flicking thoughtfully. "Perhaps I have underestimated you," she admitted, her voice softer now, almost reflective. The prototype bowed deeply, showing respect, but also standing strong, ready for her judgment. Then the Queen spoke words that echoed through the hall, powerful and clear. "You have survived the trials of courage, intellect, and heart. You have faced impossible odds, and yet remained true. You have shown me a vision of a future that even I did not imagine." A murmur ran through the court, shock, awe, and disbelief, all mixed together. For the first time, the Queen smiled, her sharp features softening. She lifted her paw and gestured toward the prototype. "You are worthy of my approval. You may carry the legacy of my line and give life to the future I have long sought." The hall erupted in whispers of astonishment and excitement. The prototype stood silently, absorbing the weight of the Queen's words. It had not just survived, it had earned respect, loyalty, and a place in the Queen's world. From the shadows, the courtiers who had mocked and doubted it before now looked on in awe, some even bowing in respect. The Queen's gaze sought further as she continued, "Let it be known across the stars that even the smallest world, even a creation thought weak, can rise to greatness." The prototype, though exhausted, felt a surge of pride and determination. It had proven that courage, intelligence, and heart were more important than size, strength, or birthright. And in that moment, it became more than a creation. It became a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and the untapped potential of Earth. Yet the Queen was not finished. Her amber eyes gleamed with curiosity, hinting at future challenges, adventures, and secrets yet to be revealed. The prototype turned to face the Queen, ready for whatever would come next, knowing that its journey was far from over. It had passed the greatest trials, won the Queen's approval, and proven that, even in a galaxy of powerful beings, a single creation from Earth could stand above the rest. The Feline Queen finally spoke one last time, her voice carrying through the hall. "You have my notice. My respect and my legacy may now continue through you." The prototype bowed once more, as the hall filled with a mixture of awe, respect, and excitement. The story of courage, loyalty, and unexpected power had reached its peak, yet the future hinted at countless more adventures waiting to unfold, and as the queen returned to her throne, the prototype stood tall in the center of the hall, a symbol of Earth's ingenuity and the promise of a brighter, stronger future. The court, the queen, and the galaxy itself would never forget this day. The legacy of the prototype had begun.